Take your tape, make sure it's square. If it's not, just give it a rip. Go right to the ceiling with it. This is the only joint at the ceiling that I recommend overlapping your tape. I always recommend doing your inside corners first. I don't like to see paper over top of paper on the wall. So before I do this wall joint, I want to do my inside corner. I want to bring my paper up to this point, because I don't want to make this joint any thicker than it needs to be. So right now I'm just gently pressing that into the mud. Okay, cleaning out a little bit of excess. Now, most people stop there. And here's the secret. When you're done, get it wet, and then take it off again. And I'll tell you why. That's so important to do. If the surface of this paper is dry, like it is right now, while it's setting up and curing, it's going to lift right off that wall. If your paper isn't wet, it will form an air bubble. Again, I don't understand the science. All I know is from experience. If I don't have wet paper drying on my wall, it's going to form air bubbles and it's going to come off. So I'm going to just keep on wiping it on and wiping it off. Make sure it's nice and clean. This way, when I come back tomorrow, I know I'm not going to have any bubbles, and I don't have to go backwards before I go forwards again. Okay, so we're going to tape our horizontal joint next after we've done our inside corners. Again, the system here is really simple. You don't want to have tape over tape. So before we can do our butt joints, we want to have the horizontal joint on. Again, we've had this filled and it's dried overnight. So, process. Remember we talked about the taper joint? So from about 2 inches up and 2 inches down, it's all recessed. All right, just take your knife, put on your mud. This is a heck of a lot faster than any technique you've ever seen in any of your videos before. Okay, wow. Come back. And you're not removing it from the area that we're putting the tape. You're just removing it from the excess over and above what we need. Remember, that's higher and that's higher than this is. So we're going to fill the gap, finish off the rest of the wall. No sense taping halfway to the end of this wall and then stopping. There we go. Now when you're doing this, remember we talked about the crease? You want to have the crease inside the wall. So, nice straight edge. Place that right where we're starting. And you want to know where it is, just put your knife there, it'll sit in the crack. You can mark it. There we go. So now what we have to do is we want to get rid of the excess mud that's underneath this tape, just to set it in the mud. So I'm going to use my hawk to hold it, my second pair of hands, just the last couple feet here, okay folks? All right, this is what I'm talking about. Now I have one depth of finish, okay? Now you can come back. Now watch this. Same thing, off the side of the knife, get that paper wet, clean it up. Now it's okay if you fill the gap between the paper and the edge of that recess in the drywall. Oops, I'm losing my step here. So we're going to press it out, clean the top, clean the bottom, take a little bit of mud off the side, and then we missed a spot. Very important, make sure everything gets wet. If you have a wrinkle, just grab the edge of the tape and stretch it out. Again, let's clean the mud. Make sure it's wet. clean that off. So the butt joint is one of the major reasons why we want to water our mud down. The science is really simple. Because we have two surfaces that are the same thickness, we're going to add mud and then add tape. We're creating a bump. So what we want to do is the science is to stretch that bump of whatever 2 millimeters over a large area so that we are causing ourselves to focus on such a large piece of wall we can't identify the fact that it comes out and goes back in again because we don't see any shadows. This is not about leveling. This wall is never going to be level. It'll never be flat. It'll always have a bump. You want to just make the bump so gradual and so wide that it's not recognizable. One of the ways you do that is by staggering your joints. Don't ever put them on top of each other because now you're creating an opportunity. If the sun hits it just a certain way, you're going to see that bump, okay? So it's the same thing. You want to fill the gap, side of the knife, put it on nice and liberal. Now when you're doing a horizontal joint, you want to work from the bottom up. If you do it from the top down, and I'll show you this demonstration. Here we go. Oh, goopy. Mud's going to end up everywhere, okay? If you work from the bottom down, bottom up, you have a lot more control. The mud's getting pushed to the side while you're going up, and it will stick to the wall. Take our paper tape, check your edge, make sure it's nice and square. Find that spot where we want to start. Okay. Press the mud out from behind. Set your depth. Just gently press it in, not too firmly at this point. Okay. Now, we have to hold the hock and press up. Okay? That'll keep your fingers clean. And it'll also set it up so that you can clean the mud out from the bottom. A lot of times you'll see guys when they're taping, they have a huge mound of mud at the bottom because they don't take the time to be clean with their work. Take the time and do clean work. Makes installing your baseboards easier. Okay, so the other element of the wall we want to cover is the ceiling corners and then the screws. So the ceiling corners are simple, same thing. Load your mud on, come off the side of the tape. Side of your knife. Okay, now there's that hardener we talked about earlier. It's all set in place now. We only did that 30 minutes ago, but we're ready to tape the corner. Just making sure I have mud everywhere. I don't want to have a dry spot. Good, same thing. Inside corner, measure, tear, rip, install. Just place it up in there. Nice and gentle. Get your third hand. Oh, press that in. Okay, really nice. And we'll get it right. Get the wrinkles out of it. When you're done, put your knife up against your corner, create pressure, tear it off. That's done. So how to fill a screw hole properly. I know it sounds silly, it's the smallest issue, but most of the time when you're checking a wall for imperfections, it's going to be a screw hole problem. All right, so people come along and they'll wipe the mud in two different directions, and that's great. So you fill the hole. Problem is, the mud shrinks when it dries. And most of these screws have been put in with a dimpler, and that thickness needs a second coat. So don't just do it once and think you're done. Make sure every time you do your coat on your wall, you hit your screws. Now, if you go this way and then this way, you'll get the job done, but you'll see what happens. It's a lot of work. You're gonna have little pieces left everywhere. If you have too much mud on your tool, you're like, oh, no, oh. It's a lot of time to spend on a screw. Instead, put it on the same way you're applying it, off the side. Go up and down. Off the side and then straight down. This way, you're applying it on 2 inches going up and cleaning it with a 4-inch tool coming down. no extra mess. You can do all the screw holes in this entire basement in about 10 minutes. All right, so the last element that you want to make sure that you take care of on your first coat of mud is your paper bead outside corners that have the metal on the inside of them, okay? There's two kind of corner beads. There's this and there's metal. Actually, there's three. There are plastic. Those are for fancy things. If you're doing curves, you're gonna have to get that, but we're gonna cover this one for first coat because I like to fill it, get it in, and then leave all this paper exposed just like the rest of my paper joints. I find if I put this on during the second coat and then I try to fill it right away, I end up putting too much moisture there and it always bubbles. So always put this on in your first coat. It won't cause you any problems. This is really designed for bulkheads. The way we do our bulkheads is we have to watch the video. We set up a laser and now we have metal tracking here. So we don't have any wood in this corner to screw anything to. So I want to just take my rasp, make sure my outside corner is nice and clean and I don't have any protrusions. Did you see that? Keep your hawk underneath, catch all your drips. You never get mud on your shoes. Now you see all this mess down here. We should have taken the time to put a filler in here. But if you didn't, because this paper bead comes with corner that's full of metal, you can get away with using regular mud here. The idea is just get it all on. And we just want a nice big wet line here that's wider than our corner bead. All right, now in the corner bead, there's the metal corner. This is the short side, it's 3/8. This one is almost 5/8. The wide metal goes over the exposed drywall. Okay, folks? That's very important. So when you're measuring, always make sure you're holding it right so that your finished factory edge is going up another finished factory edge. And you just place it in. Use your knife now. You want to have a gap. So make sure you move it around and have a gap. Here's my ceiling. Check this out. No gap. So I can just pull down that corner. Make sure that I have a gap. So I'm going to clean that off. There. Pull it down a little bit. Gap. Gap. That's what we're doing. Making sure that everywhere we go, we have a gap to fill so that we don't have to bring the mud up and around to finish. All right. Now again, like I said, if you do it this way and you let that sit overnight, it'll be nice and dry. And then when you come back to do your corners, you can fill it with 45, your quick set mud with the hardener. And then about an hour later, you can come by and put your finish coat on and all your outside corners are done. Okay, so that's basically all you need to know about how to do a first coat. So we're just gonna finish all of our joints and we'll see you again back here tomorrow. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, but most importantly, comment on the videos. By all means, or a suggestion of video you'd like to see, let us know. We'd love to be in touch.